Welcome back to the X podcast. I have the OG.
Yeah.
Kevin Illich. Kevin, have you, number one, noticed the new logo?
I did. I like it. I like the change.
And number two, have you heard the new intro?
No, I have not heard
so
the new
good.
intro.
The music that you probably picked
Yes.
5 years ago.
That does make me upset a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah, was flagged, finally.
Really?
So we had to change it. But the new intro's awesome.
It's good.
It's so good.
Can't wait to hear
For those that are not familiar with you, which I think most people would be, the founder of the X podcast.
In a different life.
In a different life. Used to be on staff here. One of my first friends I made when I got here. And you...
A lot has changed. You're now a homeowner.
Yeah, thanks to yours truly. Well, no, actually yours...
Well,
you.
But you pay the mortgage, so it's your house.
Wait, you're not going to help with that?
No,
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Now that it's too late.
Okay.
So
Dang.
it's a good deal, though. You have equity. It's great, and you did a great job with it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It was surreal. You and Sarah, who may be around here somewhere, were at the housewarming party, and you were standing in the kitchen. That I remember when you're like chicken scratching on the side of the wall. What if we change this? And what if we put the stove over here? And but you did a great job. We'll get to this in a minute, but you did a great job of, hey, here's what we can do. What do you want? And I'm sending mood boards, and then you're great about, okay, what about this? Or occasionally, I don't know if that will quite look the way you think. What if we try this? Great process.
Were you surprised at what we were able to do?
Oh, I was floored. Floored because I did not think, from the moment I thought about getting a home, and I was like, oh, I think I'm going to be here for a minute. Rates skyrocket. And so I looked here and there, but never found something I loved. And then we're having breakfast at the Wigwam, talking about other stuff. And I made the mistake of mentioning, in the next year or so, once I do this, I'd love to get in home. You're like, in true Kevin style, walk with me. And we walked, I think midnight that night. You send me videos. I'm like, this place is rough.
Yeah, shag carpet.
Yeah.
It had like 8 different color walls.
Yes.
There was stuff all over the place. The house smelled like feet. No air conditioning. And it was, it was definitely a peach.
Yes, it was. And because of, and no knock to whoever lived there, they had their style, they worked with what they could work with. But I think because of the way it was laid out, it looked to me very small, low ceiling, cramped, and I could see how it could be renovated, but not made to look like a dream.
Yeah, the property was a rental.
Yeah.
And for years and years and years and years and years. And again, just was original to when it was built, really. And other than painting it 8 different colors, it was just pretty rough. They had done some nice stuff on the outside. I think it's an interesting concept though, because right now, for those of you that don't know, I don't even know how to brand myself, but I do real estate. We've been joking. It's like, am I the house man? I don't know. But
That's on your bio now.
That's what I had to change it the other day because I'm like, I don't even know what to say other than the house man. But the point of, and I think it's a great parallel to, Jesus Juke life, is that you're not, like, houses, what we've learned is that it's pretty consistent what you find. And you're working with a shell. And so with not a ton of work, you can really transform a space. And you know this if you've redone a bathroom or redone a kitchen, is that, new floor, new paint, it's pretty much a whole new place. And so when I help young people or first-time home buyers or people who have something specific they haven't been able to find a spot, I always look for the stinky in the, because you're getting a better deal than actually what it will cost to fix it up. And in an economy like this, in an interest rate environment like this, and people who, I don't know, it's changing a lot in Columbus too. Columbus is growing like crazy, and it's not going to stop.
Yeah. And I think another maybe fun direction you could take your parallel of life is, people say you can do whatever you want to do, be whoever you want to be, and I'm a hopeless optimist. And so I believe that to an extent, but it's within the framework of the way God's wired you and designed you and gifted you.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way, when you get a home, you can make it brand new, but within the bones of what's there. And it's really interesting because there are certain features, even though it was rough, that I was like, oh, like it had the curve, the archways, and just certain things that in its former glory was maybe more of like a hippie, free spirit kind of, looked great for them. But when redone, to me, I had some people like, it feels like LA.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we could talk a lot about accentuating your strengths.
Yes.
That's a great concept.
You know what I mean?
I work with my brother, and my brother is newer to faith as a Christ follower, which he asked me to baptize him the other day. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce that publicly.
Oh,
Isn't that
that's incredible.
He told me, like, I'd start crying.
My first night that I came to at what was then Crossroads 7 years ago was the night you baptized your mom.
Yes. And it feels the same way because, I'm newer in my faith journey too. I think I was, it's probably been 12 years or so, but every day is a new part of the journey, and you just keep learning the different layers that you have as a human and that God wants to get at. And, if you want to parallel it to what we do with housing to make it way too overly spiritual, but that's just how I'm wired and it's how you're wired too, is that, we buy these distressed places, and it's a lot like what God finds us as, right? Or how we find God would come to him with a lot of deferred maintenance and a lot of damage. And what I feel like is really cool about houses and what's really cool about Jesus is that a lot of times at first he'll show us what we can be and what he's put in us. And then he'll strip things away. And you go, we're going to take that out. We need to work on that addiction. We need to work on that language. We need to work on that group of friends. We need to work on that relationship. And it looks a lot like stripping away to make room for a lot of the new and exciting and the things that you just never thought could be possible. And so there is that parallel there, but specifically with your house, like mid-century modern is what we decided was the original intent for your house. And so we played on that. There was archways here and there. The ceilings are lower. You do have like a more square looking stone fireplace, and the layout is very different from, maybe what somebody would pick.
And it's a circle. I have people tell me at the housewarming, they're like, this is perfect for toddlers.
You're right. Just run around
in circles. Yeah.
The layout is very interesting. And so we just played on that, and I think brought some modern elements in, and it's really cool.
Oh, I'm in love with it.
And I never get to see houses when they're done. And so you had a housewarming party, and when we would like renovate a house and list it to sell, it's like we never get to see life happen in the house. And so to see, obviously be your friend and come over and see the housewarming party. So to see how you're living in it and furnishing it, and to see the last 10% of you getting into the house is really cool.
It was special.
Yeah, it's really fun.
This is a special night. It is funny because you and I could spiritualize the thing forever. I'm laughing because, and this is nothing about really what we said we'd talk about, but we'll get to some other stuff in a minute, maybe. But a lot of what you just said, and I think the power of it, one of the huge important things for life or houses or whatever is the power of vision. And again, I would consider myself kind of visionary in thinking, but you do this for a living and you're visionary to the nth degree in general. And so you saw even more vision in the house than I did. But then what's funny is like midway through, you took me to another house and you were so excited. And you were like, man, wait till you see this. This is going to be incredible. I walked in, held my nose, almost threw up, and had to walk out. And I'm like, this man might have even more vision than me. And obviously you have more expertise than me when it comes to houses. But it's funny, on the whole analogy of a house has to have good bones and the power of vision, my mind now goes to Ezekiel in the Valley of Dry Bones.
Man, we are getting really spiritual.
And I'm thinking, because I just want to ask, like, what I should have asked in that moment is, Kevin, can these bones live?
Right, exactly.
Like how?
Yeah.
And so how do you?
We're at the part before the breath enters the bones.
Right.
but-
I just like I'm like I don't even know if I'm having to hold my breath. I don't know if breath will ever enter this house. How do you? I don't know. What is it? What do you think about? How do you grow your vision? Or maybe if somebody, is in a tough season personally, like how do you get vision back?
Yeah. Great question. I think that it's been a journey for me to figure out what excites me.
Yeah.
And there's a time in life that I struggle with that it's just time to manage things and steward things well. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a great manager. I'm a great visionary. I'm not a great manager. And so I have to figure out, how do I get excited about the managerial daily stewardship of life that does not come natural to me. It's very much not my strength. I am pie in the sky. I am vision oriented. I am those things. And as I've developed and tried to just be more effective in general, and effective with my family, and effective as a dad and a husband, and as someone who runs a business, and as someone who's trying to follow Jesus and serve the church and do all these things, right? It takes a lot of managerial ability to live life in general. For me, what I've realized is that vision is the inspiration for me to be able to do those things. And sometimes, if you are wired the way you and I are wired vision-wise, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable because it disturbs reality. And the house you're talking about is a good example, because what I'm doing with that house is not the most efficient, but it is the most exciting.
Yeah.
And so, it's a duplex right now, but it would be the most beautiful single-family house, for example. And you'll get a lot of people who are more effective at the managerial side of life, that the visionary portion, it makes them very uncomfortable. And they're not wrong at all, but I'm not either. And so it's taken me a while to figure out it's okay to be this way, and what place does it have. If you're all vision and no, tactfulness, then you'll just be broke with great dreams that you long to hopefully one day achieve. But you have to, in order to actually see vision come to life and come to fruition, it takes a lot of really smart and wise decisions that take discipline and planning. And it speaks to, for me, knowing my strength, but leveraging it as a strength, and not because it makes some people feel uncomfortable viewing it as a detriment of mine. Oh, I'm just always visionary thinking. And I know that sounds like self-deprecating, but it's true. I live in a space where everybody kind of does the same thing in my real estate world, right? They buy a house, fix it up, have this system, have them do that. I can't think like that. I can't. It makes me want to cut off my toes one at a time. Okay,
Graphic.
It is. But if you say, "Oh, we could take this property and take my friend Russ, and we can somehow merge the two processes together so that Russ has a house that he loves, he has equity in it, and I have less of a turn time because I know you're going to buy it. I have a pre-agreed upon sales price based on the comps, and I get to go to the housewarming party." For me, that is everything. It's what makes me want to do things well.
Yeah.
And so I think that for me, it's the visionary part of things. One, it's experience, and it's being willing to take the risk and do things, right? Before I ever did it on the 50 houses we've sold, it was on my own house, and it was ugly, and I had to really lean on people who had strengths that I didn't have, and they understood how a wall was constructed, and they understood where to buy furniture material, and they understood this. And through just observation and collection of that, you get better at it. But for me, the bigger tension has been, man, I can't be visionary at the expense of me actually living a life that doesn't end in.
Do you feel like you
despair?
Does it end where you're homeless?
Right,
I feel
exactly.
like somebody talked about, even in creativity without work isn't creativity. It's just ideation, because creativity presupposes you create, which there's a lot of work in that. Do you feel like you go on a pendulum and how you manage that? I've quoted it forever, but I love, it was probably 15, 20 years ago, like the first big conference I ever went to, heard Andy Stanley say this quote I never forgot. He says, you will always be the most optimal version of yourself with your most optimally exploited strengths rather than your marginally improved weaknesses.
Yes.
But if we don't shore up our liabilities, they become liabilities.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think through that, navigate that? Do you feel like you on a pendulum of like, because I know for me, like, you know, it seems like I feel like we're both very aware of where we're strong and weak.
Mm-hmm.
So like sometimes I've gone on way too long of a journey of like over focusing on all my weaknesses and almost trying to make them into strengths.
Yeah. I think that it's a deep question, but I think Sarah, who we obviously know and love their family from church, and like Sarah's doing a lot of our social media content, and we kind of dream together about that. And Sarah, even just this morning, you've probably like, this guy has no schedule, no rhythm. He's all over the place. He's like a walking panic attack, and that's not true. But what's also true is, in order for us to do anything like that means something beyond what's normal, it can't look the way that everything else has to look. And so it has to come from the way that I've heard it said that, you know, the way to shore up your weaknesses is with the right people, not with turning your weaknesses into strengths.
Yeah.
I will never be good at QuickBooks. I will never do it. I could if I wanted to, maybe not. But I will never be good at that. But Jenny is amazing. Her brain thinks like that. Her and I specifically, like, we don't think the same. My wife and I do not think the same. And if there's anything that I've done right, it's knowing the people who are strong at the things I'm not strong at. And so I would say, like, you can make sure you're good enough at the things you're weak at without looking at what makes you strong and unique and what you're great at in a negative manner.
How do you, we've just gone straight entrepreneur episode, but
Yeah,
how do you,
but it's life too.
it is life. You know, so really, because what I hear you saying is you shore up your weaknesses by delegation, surround yourself with the right people.
I would say more so community than I'd say delegation.
Okay, yeah.
But
like
yes.
Collaboration more than
Yes,
delegation.
collaboration for sure.
But how do you still, I still feel like there's a gap there. I've noticed with me, I remember when I was a youth pastor in Atlanta, and I was like, okay, I've got to surround myself with people that are great with the QuickBooks, all the kind of stuff. But I still, like a couple years in, found like a gap of frustration because it was like I surrounded them with them, but I still thought like them so little that I wasn't great at equipping them.
Yeah.
So they were around me, but still felt ill-equipped.
Yeah.
And for me, it's probably still a learning curve. Like, how do I think enough like them to set them up to think about the things I won't think about?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's true that the limit to your growth personally and even business-wise, and it's definitely you as the leader. Like, you are the bottleneck, whether you like it or not. And what I found is, and I'm not perfect at this, but where it gets dangerous when you're not able to name your weaknesses or name your strengths. A lot of people can name what they want their strengths to be, or what they know is elevated in their workplace or their family or whatever. They know what they should be, but they don't know what they are. And the great thing about entrepreneurship and fatherhood and being a husband is that you can't escape what you're naturally strong towards, or what you're naturally gifted at, and what you're naturally not gifted at. And so it takes time. It takes years and years and years. It's not something you can go journal one day and I finally figured out my strengths. You have to ask people and be open-minded and have like an ear to listen, and then see it play out and see what you agree with and don't agree with, and work really hard on articulating it.
Yeah.
Personally, that's how I feel. But I also, from a you know, when I have a community of people that I work with, I've realized a couple things through failure. Is that I don't work well with people who are not strong in their personal agency,
Yep. Self-motivation.
self-motivation. If you need me for vision, planning, excitement, let's charge this mountain, follow me, I'll take on the arrows, and I definitely can do that. If you need me to have the courage to get started, I'm not, like, the personal courage to actually open up and say, we need to solve this problem and go. I always tell people that work with me, and again, this is through failure, is that I would much rather you have the personal agency to go and attempt to solve a problem and it not be perfect. And we can make 1% shifts and changes as we go. And I can share with you things that I've learned as to why I don't do that, or why I don't post that there, or why I think we should approach it this way, or why when we show a house we need to talk this way, or when we go to get a mortgage we do that. I would much rather go, because at the end of the day, it's not a win for me if the people around me only feel like their strength, or I'm saying their only worth is to serve me. Really, if they have personal agency and are serving like the greater goal of what we're doing, then, and they hone their craft and they go and they feel inspired and they start to learn what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are and they roll with the punches. Like, for me, I just feel like in general, I don't want minions. I don't need minions.
Right.
I'm not good at minions, and no one is beneath me from a level of, I don't know how to say it, but like their value as a person. It's like, no, you be you and let's freaking go.
It's so, there's so many directions we could go from that. For some reason, when you're talking, my mind goes to, do you ever read Shoe Dog?
Yeah, I love Shoe Dog.
So
I listen because I don't
good.
read.
Yeah.
One of my strengths is not reading.
But you can read with your ears well.
Yes.
And so Phil Knight, it's his autobiography, great American love story, basically, of Nike. And I remember in 2019 reading it. And there's so many, it's almost one of those books like Will Guidara's Unreasonable Hospitality. It's not written as a leadership book, but there's so many things you pick up along the way. One of the things that he's passionate about that I've thought back on from time to time is he says, I believe in telling people what to do, but never how to do it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because there's some people, depending on how they're wired, that want more instruction and want more, no, here's how you should do it. Here's how I want to be, quote unquote, equipped to do it. And so it's an interesting, it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you were on that Arena episode where they talked about the different types of people when it comes to vision. Some people thrive on like a 5-year mega vision. Let's go get it. Most people need like 3 months. Pay for the next 3 months. And then other people, the more technical, it's like, no, this is what we're doing this week. Like, here's what you do this week.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very nuanced, it's very complex. And I'm very lucky because I kind of get to define the seat that I sit in. Yeah. Right?
Right.
And there's definitely times where we have, hey, here's the 8 things we got going on this week, and we have to, chunk through them. So it's not like you can completely avoid all of those things. Of course, there's nuance there. But I do think you have to, it's a worthwhile exploration personally to figure out where you, the strongest position that would suit you. Does it suit you to be a repetitive laborer? And I love those people. And I think that there's many, many different things you can do if that's the type of work you like doing. Does it suit you to be the risk-taking, fire-breathing dragon that runs something? Does it suit you to be the Aaron to the Moses? Does it suit you to be in more sales conversations? Does it suit you to be more administrative? Of course, those are all things that people need to understand and grow in. But I think you have to define what end you're working towards. Because in my experience, I'm just not one of those people that's like, this is my business life and this is my personal life. This is my work life and this is my personal life. Not like a Severance type deal. That I'm just one big
Severance type deal.
One big ball of whatever I am. And I way more see that my strengths and weaknesses when I run my company also manifest in my family. and also manifest in my spiritual life. And so I kind of view it as common themes, right? What are the common themes that come out of it? And trying also to be really generous with yourself on when you make a mistake and when you screw up and when you don't do something right and when, because I've also been in, we've talked before, and it's that, that one statement that I think we both resonate with, which is it's really easy to build a case against yourself.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to go, I screwed up this there, and I screwed up this with my son, and I screwed up this in my marriage, and I just keep failing. And so that mindset for me has oftentimes just really plunged me into a dark place because I'm like, I'm so unique in my horrible failures towards everyone around me, which isn't untrue, but it's also true that I give them some of these really unique strengths and gifts that only I can give them, and that God put me in a place to exert whatever this is on the people around me in the most positive and loving way that might help them in a way that nobody in their lives can help them.
Right.
And so it's two sides of the same coin. And this idea that I've been really trying to focus on is just being relentlessly generous towards my perception of myself.
Oh, that's great.
Because I realize that if I'm
tough.
not, no one else is going to be.
Yeah.
Like maybe my wife will be, maybe my mom and dad will be, but if you don't think the world of yourself, and it's a reflection of what you think about God, and God must have made many mistakes when he made me, and God doesn't make mistakes. So God put these things inside of me. It's my job to appreciate the things that he did and appreciate my complicated and messy and my messy brain that God wants to use for his glory.
That's great. What a powerful, I think both you and me, you can tell me if I'm wrong to speak for you, both almost got emotional when Brendan Burchard was talking, I think was it 2023, 2024, I don't know, at one of the arena things in LA, and he said, I'm proud of myself.
Yes.
I've learned to like myself. And it was almost like the whole room to this collective, you can you can like yourself, and this sounds odd. I've been reading a lot of Stephen King lately.
I don't know who that is.
Stephen King, the horror. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised. You're as dry as I am,
Yeah.
but there are people I've asked recently. Do you know this person that I would think everybody? And they're like, I have no idea. Chance. Maybe this shows my age. Chance Meadows, one of our Fresh Voice preachers. The other day I saw him. I was like, all right, TD Jakes. He goes, who is that? And I'm like, does this mean I'm 90 or does this mean, I don't know. But anyways, I've been reading a lot of Stephen King, not his horror books, nothing wrong with him, but his like adventure, like just incredible writer. But one random moment that like moved me is one of the main characters, this young man, he was playing sports, but came across this old man that was having like physical emergency, fell from a ladder, ends up taking care of him. And like a couple chapters later, he, it's in first person. He's like, I went to bed tonight and I realized for the first time in a long time, I liked myself again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, why am I about to cry in the Stephen King book? But it made me think, like, when was the last time I really felt, maybe it's too vulnerable, proud of myself, liked myself, gave myself grace. But part of that is, living the kind of life I want to be proud of. So there's agency in that. But there's also perspective in that. Am I just harping on my failures, or am I? Yeah.
I don't know. I think I have a lot of thoughts towards that. I was with Andrea last night, and she is the type of person, and she'll tell you this, that when she watches a movie, is so into the movie. She was watching, my kids are into Harry Potter, and so they were watching Harry Potter, and she was joking. She's like, this movie just gets me it just wrecks me because I see all these people die for this and that, people you love and characters you love, and it'll affect her for like the rest of the evening, right? Wow. She'll just kind of be in that zone. And I think, how true is it that whatever movie we play of ourselves, however we choose to portray ourselves in the movie we play in our mind, is the way we live?
So true.
And so yeah, there's been times when I wake up and like I'm chunkier than I want to be right now. I don't love what I got going on with my hair. I don't love what I see in the mirror all the time, and I don't love my current wardrobe. And yeah, I wish my bank account would look a little like I'd be a little further ahead. And I just, gosh, those people who've been investing since they were 21, and and there's things I do that I don't do perfectly, and it's like what a miserable movie to play in my head. So I've been really.
How do you check yourself?
Well, I think it's this term of like living life with a buoyancy.
I love that word.
And I think about life that, and again, too spiritual, but we're in a church, so it's fine.
Yeah.
The enemy that prowls like a roaring lion, okay, and seeks to harm us. And seeks to pull us under like this crazy riptide, right? And then I read scriptures like, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Mm-hmm. And the oversimplification of that for me is that levity is important, right? And so if you're experiencing what will oftentimes be right next to intense depression and self-deprecation and anxiety is heaviness. Mm-hmm. Okay. The scripture that talks about taking off the heaviness, right, of life and putting on a garment of praise. And like when you insert like God's grace and his mercy, and when you insert these things into your current story, it should feel lighter.
Yeah, that's good.
And so there, for me, I'm intense. So it's easy for me to try to motivate myself with, like, I don't know, just yelling at myself. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, get up at 6 o'clock and go work out. You idiot. Oh, you didn't do it again. You lack discipline. Blah, 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 blah. And that's how early on, that's how I did it. That's how I coached myself. That was my inner dialogue. And recently I'm just like, it didn't work. So, and I'm miserable.
Well, what's helping you in the mornings right now?
I don't know if anything really helps me.
But I know you're not necessarily your rhythms would probably not look like anybody's rhythms.
Oh, if my rhythms were public, it would be like people would probably cry. But
so this is probably something you do naturally, but I would say maybe most people don't do naturally. But I was actually watching or listening to a podcast with Carl and Laura Lentz. It was like one of the few I've had a chance to listen to a couple months ago, and it was right after just a lot of cultural things, a lot of heaviness, and he was just saying, hey, on a personal level, he's noticed that his level of anxiety is connected to how much to the ratio of creating and consuming. Mm-hmm. And it's stuff we've talked about before, stuff I think, many of us would instinctively know, but he's like, it's statistically proven the amount of social media you consume can affect your mental health. And if I'm mainly consuming social media, but I'm not creating anything, I'm not building anything, I'm not feeling productive. And it was something so simple, and you can make it spiritual or non-spiritual, but I'm like, so for the next couple weeks, I'm like, okay, I don't feel motivated to write right now. I don't feel motivated to do this, but I'm going to. I actually remember something Brendan Bouchard said at one of the things. He said, what if you saved your treats, so to speak, whether it's social media or news or YouTube or movies or cheat meals or whatever. What if you saved that for the weekend? Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, what if so for a couple weeks I've written at the top, create more than consume. I've tried to stay off distracting things for me until Thursday night. And so for a few weeks that's helped. But then for me, I realized as a person of faith, I'm like, oh, I've been in a season where if I'm honest, and not in a legalistic way, but I've just kind of flipped pages past devotions and just rushed straight to creating. And then Saturday, it's like my unrushed, it's like my Sabbath day. I'm like, okay, I've been saying I'm going to do this for like a month. Phone, airplane mode. I know not everybody has this luxury. Phone, airplane mode. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm not going to even create anything for the next hour. I'm just going to allow myself to sit with God. Yeah. And it reset everything for me.
What about its reset?
I think On a spiritual level, it just time in God's presence slows me down enough to change my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a lot of the rushing waters in me finally stilled.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a sense of like strength and peace like began to return.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know it looks different for everybody in different seasons, especially like, parents with young kids. And I think for a long time, I think one of the things I'm relearning is on a spiritual level. I think a lot of us got too cool for a devotional time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very much, hey, if you don't have time, just do it on the go, which is fine. Like, pray without ceasing, abide with God throughout the day. Like, don't be legalistic about I have to sit down for an hour. But at the same time, I saw a clip the other day that was like, they said that there's a limit to the whole thing of it's quality time with God, not quantity.
Mm-hmm.
They said we would never be able to apply that in any other relationship.
Yeah.
You couldn't. You probably, if you went on a 2-week vacation from Andrea and then came back and said, "Hey, no, I've been gone for 2 weeks, don't have a lot of time, but we're going to have a power 5-minute session
You're right.
of just talking."
Right.
Eventually, and I think what I felt in my soul, again, not in a legalistic way, was I have just been rushing and skimming the surface with God for a while. And wow, I put my head back under, and man, it just, I don't know that I'll be able to do that like that every day, but man, it just was a reminder.
Yeah.
Wow, what am I missing when I don't slow down a little bit more?
I
with
have
God?
like personal nuance because I obviously think I totally agree with it. The part that I'm still wrestling with is the consuming versus creating thing that you said. I don't view it necessarily that way personally. I think it's obviously, maybe it's because I live more in a creative space. But I was talking with somebody, young guy, and it was one of those times when if you were to ask me, what are the keys to your growth in this, that, I don't have them prepared, but when I'm talking, sometimes you hear from the overflow of, let me tell this story and here's that experience. Because it's the truth that life is a combination and a compilation of what God's taught you, what God's taught you in the middle of. Mm-hmm. And you build this picture of who God is. And one of the most important things to me right now, to go along with levity and to go along with presence and being in God's presence and having a living, breathing relationship with God in every second of your life is really trying to model Jesus in a literal way. And what I read when I read about how Jesus moved and lived, it's this guy who, when he started performing the miracles, was met with a level of intensity and chaos from the people who were like, whoever you are, we're going to chase you and ask for this or that. And in the middle of that chaos that was happening and people wanting a piece of him, he had a pace and a spontaneity that I think is, at the very least, interesting. He would find times when it got to be really intense to go retreat and pray with his Father. In the middle of him working through a crowd, when someone touched his cloak, he stopped and he's like, who touched me? And so this guy that no matter the chaos of the life that he was living, his intentions were true in that it was others focused. And he would always find time to pause. And to me, a spiritual life and a life with Christ looks a lot more, it does not look like eliminating all chaos.
Sure, yes.
And
yes.
living as, San Padre on the top of Monk's Mountain.
Right.
And saying, you guys are all I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm just saying, yeah, we live in a social media world. We live in a crazy dopamine-filled culture. We live in all that. That's
right.
But more so looks like the complete shredding of the ideals that I have in my mind for my life, and a complete assumption of the ideals that God might have for me.
Yeah.
And you will and I will completely miss them if my pace is a sprint and a stop and a sprint and a stop and a sprint and a stop when Jesus' pace is just walking. And so for me, matching the pace of entrepreneurs, parents, people trying to build somewhat of an important life. The part about consuming that personally is detrimental is when I start wrapping my ideals. I start taking other people's ideals and trying to make them my own because it's the ideals that I see. And so when I look at the ideals scripturally and layer on top of it the things I've learned about Jesus and those stories that I've gotten the privilege to live in my life, to go, oh, 1 minute with God will move more than 150 hours of personal work.
Right.
God's outcome is always better than any outcome that I can ever even comprehend. God's outcomes are nuanced. In that I might just want to make $50,000 from that house, and God, please let me sell this house for $50,000 so I can profit, so I can blah, 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 this and that. But God wants me to, no. The right people are going to move in here. And not only will you learn this lesson, but you'll learn that lesson, and you'll see this about life, and you'll see, and it's, and the timing will line up. And so it's this complete surrender of, man, maybe the people I consume don't have it all right, and maybe their outcome is God's outcome for them, and I should celebrate it and not look at it with a detrimental eye towards myself and where I'm not.
Right.
So more so going, God, what? Okay, that's having this. I think you'll learn a lot about where you are spiritually with how generous you view others' success.
Yeah.
And so if you can view people who are doing well and be genuinely happy for them. And like there's a guy, it's funny, in real estate world who he's local, and I know him real well. We've done a lot of business together. He just got a TV show. So they've been filming a TV show.
Yeah.
And I know that there are why does he get that TV show? And why don't I? What do I got to do to get that TV show? And somebody's asked me, like, do you think that you? I'm like, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm so thrilled for him. Like, I'm so thrilled for him because he's treated me right, and he's treated people right, and that's a good guy, and he got a good reward. And I hope and a rising tide lifts all boats. And this thought that the success of other people or their accomplishments or seeming accomplishments from what they post is in some way supposed to make me feel less than about myself. Yeah. Like, that's danger.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that's actually one of the ways, probably one of the many ways me and you are alike. We have a tendency, I have many, many weaknesses, but I feel like I have a celebratory inclination.
Yes.
Like, I love to see people win. And I know the comparison thing's real, but in general, I feel like it's pretty easy for me to celebrate. Like, I love seeing people win. Maybe I can nuance it this way. Like, when I consume, create, it's, me and you both probably feel like, I don't know if I'm at my peak of physical health. And so in a physical sense, when you consume way more empty calories than you expend in exercise, eventually there's a lethargy in your spirit, your mind, your energy. I've just noticed, I'm curious what you'll say this, like the days, I'm not saying like I have to write for 2 hours, but the days where I don't feel like creating can be present with your kids.
Yes.
In the days that I don't feel like I've been present with people or focused in work, or connected to God or fruitful in anything, but because of that or in spite of that, I doom scroll for an hour. Like, I can feel that in my mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would never disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think that a presence is a big thing. Like, especially when you're more of a visionary type, you can be everywhere but where you are. And that's been detrimental to me. And realizing that you do have to figure out when it's appropriate to be somewhere else in your brain. And the answer to that is not always. And so what's great about the creative process for me, and what's great about my line of work with houses, is that it's very tactile. It's very go and see and touch and feel, and can I do this here right now? And let's measure, and let's draw on the wall, and let's go look at the mirror we want to buy and the tile we want to buy, and let's go feel it, and let's so it's very tactile. And for me, that helps because it puts me there physically. All my energy is in where I'm at. And it's the same if you're writing. It's the same if you're, like my son who draws these crazy pictures. And it's the same if you're writing a journal that no one will ever see, or a poem, or it's the same if you're making up a game with your kids. And it's the same if you're cooking a too elaborate dinner on a Tuesday, because your wife likes salmon, whatever it is. I think the part about creativity that is essential and why God wired us is because it puts you there. And I was reading a story about, it was just yesterday it was late, I listened to a song, and I love the song, and I was like, I don't know, open up my Bible, and I listen to the song because I like doing that. And is the story about the centurion, or the Roman soldier, who had one of his favorite, and the way the Bible puts it, his favorite slaves, his well-revered slave, who was dying at his house. And the Roman soldier goes for Jesus, and Jesus like, okay, let's go. Where's he at? And he said, no, in my line of work, if I have lieutenants underneath me and I tell them what to do, they go do it. And so I know that if you say the word, I'm not worthy to have you in my house, but if you say the word from here, I know that it'll happen. And Jesus' response was like, I have not seen this type of faith anywhere. And then does this really creative miracle. And when you see how he'd spit in the mud and rub it on people's eyes and they'd be healed. And when you see how he'd be, the next verse, or the previous verse was, a story about how Jesus went to this village Nain, and there's a funeral procession. There's a little boy, and he just goes up to the casket and says, it's time to get up. And the little boy starts running around, and Jesus was so creative in the way that I don't know if there was, very rarely two miracles that were performed the same way. I'm sure there were, but it's like this childlike optimism that creativity sparks in you.
Yeah,
and
so true.
Culture, I think, I'm big on redefining terms, and we've talked about this a lot. I hate every term that's overused because I feel like overused terms that are leadership book terms or spirituality book terms lose all their power when overused. So creativity, personally, is one of those terms that I feel like, okay, time to find 4 more nuanced words that might paint the picture better. Not that the word is obviously bad. It's obviously a great word, but I think people think about, I'm going to be the next Van Gogh or the next Picasso. I'm going to be the next... But I reject that, and I go, okay, what's the really small thing right in front of me that I can be more creative towards? It's very interesting because God speaks to me through my kids a lot. And they all receive love and give love very differently and need different levels of attention. And there's dynamics with your oldest kid and your middle kid and your youngest kid, and you see them play out, but it's really hard to articulate, and they're always growing, and they're always learning, and they're always maturing, and it's always different. Every day is a new thing. And my middle daughter is not like the lovey, huggy kind of type, okay? But somehow, some way, we started a handshake that we do every night before bed. And it's the best thing her and I do, and we joke around with it, and we adjust it, and we do it at 100x speed, and we do all these things, and it's taught me a lot. Because, man, what attention it is to go and, get your kid to bed, and, okay, I love you, and try to just do what is not bad. Of course, if I give her a hug and a kiss on the head and turn on her show and say, I love you, have a great night, and have good, sweet dreams, not bad. But a different pace would help me be creative in understanding what she needs or what would meet her there. And so our handshake has been that, and it's taught me a lot. One of the few perfect things I've ever done. But
I love that.
But yeah, so I think that I've been really challenging myself. Sprinting, trying to solve problems at a macro level, and doing things that are always super public, and have never made me closer to Jesus or made me feel better about myself.
That's great.
But the handshake, like nothing else can happen in the entire world. But if I have my handshake with my daughter before bed, then everything's fine.
I love that. It's like, how do you not lose the hustle, but go from frantic to focused, from hurried to intentional?
It goes back to, when you're talking about in a leadership context, one thing I've been really wrestling through is that idea that, your employees need different things. And I've been really focusing on one of those words that is a creativity type word, which is empowering. When the best leaders I know are indeed empowering, that's true. What is empowering? And how do you empower people? I've really frustrated a lot of people who've worked with me before. Rightfully so. Because I would say empowering things, but not do empowering things. I could talk the talk, but I couldn't walk the walk. Problem was, when I go to solve that problem, I don't even really know how to articulate that. What do I actually do? And so, how it thematically connects to what we were just talking about is I feel like people's frustrations and how they don't feel empowered is more so when their personal needs, when you're not looking at them like an individual person who has individual gifts and strengths and talents and opinions and needs. And why do I not look at that in a work environment? Because I feel like in work environments, you don't, it's like, taboo to but finding time for 20 minutes, go, hey, how are you? How was your weekend? Anything excites you? Oh, yeah, we didn't do anything this weekend, but we're going on a trip next weekend. Where? Or honestly asking, what am I doing that you feel like is holding you back? What am I not giving you that you feel like would be helpful? And just like a 1 minute time in the presence of the Holy Spirit can change more than 150 work hours. My experience has been a 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute conversation that's about nothing with people you work with or around. Tells you more about how you can. There's things I need to. That's my bad. I missed that. Or, hey, I can see how that might have frustrated you. I might never change in that way, but here's a way that I could try to get you what you need. But my obsession has been about, I feel like that's modeled in how Jesus lived. And when he was, I'm probably going to merge two different stories here together, so Pastor, tell me if I'm wrong. But when he took Peter, and was it John when they went to, it was the scripture where they talk about Peter, on this rock I'll build my church, right? And what preceded that, and tell me if I'm wrong, was when Jesus said, what do people call me? And they said, well, some people say you're a prophet, and some people say you're a good man, and some people say you're this. And then Jesus says, but who do you say that I am? And that's when Peter says, you're the Christ. You're the Son of God. You're the Messiah. And then Jesus says, Peter, on this rock I'll build my church. Is that right? Did I get approval? And this idea, and if you understand the context of where they were on the top of a rock, right, that was used for child sacrifice by the pagans in that area. That in that moment,
I'm gonna look up this passage because I do believe when Yeah, keep going.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the theme, which is how my brain works, is just seeing themes, is the theme is in the middle of this really chaotic thing that Jesus brought them to and showed them. He goes, well, not just what do people say about me, but what do you say about me? And there's this intense individual connection that Jesus would have with whomever he was talking to, right? He would preach his sermons and turn around and meet the need of this woman. He'd preach his sermons. He'd, hey, take the boats out. We're gonna talk here, and then he'd try to go pray on his own, and he'd run into somebody and have to do something. And that is the application for me right now in my life. That is, where am I just not walking with that pace?
Yeah.
Where am I glorifying hustle and glorifying grit and hard work and working long hours and trying to be something that God never asked me to be? We've had this conversation about, I'm sure there's many people that don't even know that I worked here and was a pastor here. And when I stepped off staff, it was obedience in God saying, something's next, and this needs to be over right now. Well, when God brought me into this, it's like, this is what I want you to do. It was so clear. And since then, God's never been like, this is what I want you to do now. But he has been, no, this is what I want you to live. And so there's open-handedness that he's kind of forced my hand a little bit.
So good.
Of, you don't know. There's no vision that I gave you that you wrote down on a journal that you can just lean on when things get tough. This is about how you live. Not just what you do, but how you're living. I'll take care of the rest, but now it's time to live and walk the way that I walked.
It's good.
If you want the things I can give. And so, I mean, it's excruciating, man. It's excruciating always to grow. And it's hard to grow, and it's hard to stop doing things and start doing things and change your rhythms. But it's much more excruciating to not believe that that's what God wants for all of us.
Yeah.
And those lessons I've learned in the last 5 years or so about that have been, I'd argue, have helped me minister to myself and other people around me way more effectively than being on a stage with a microphone and talking to hundreds or thousands of people. Way more than writing a song. Those are obviously great things, very effective things, but that ability to, I don't know, and I'm being way too dramatic here, but it's that ability to not just do what Jesus wants you to do, but to live the way that he so badly wants you to live.
That's great. What a great thought.
So, and
I
what
love that.
the best things and how my encouragement, because it's pretty vague, right? But the whole rebuild thing, it's my business, yes, but rebuild is an overflow of the best parts about my life. Rebuild, why it works and why it's good and why I feel like the outcomes have been so great is not because I'm so great, and it's not because you're so great. You are great. And it's not because the house is so great, but it's because, the connection is great. The collision of all of the different things is what creates a story, and it's what creates effectiveness. I had a guy call me yesterday. He's like, I've seen this rebuild stuff, and I just wanted to ask you what it is. And he's asking me all these technical questions about the execution of the real estate deal. He's in real estate. And I literally told him, I'm like, dude, this ain't about the execution for me at all. And we do execute it, and it is good business-wise. And there's a lot of things that business people would say, that's not great business. But it's there, and it's turned into great business because I feel like it's God doing things,
Yeah.
And
you got some crazy stories from it.
Yeah, and I could go on for. It's been a learning lesson for me though, because it's been an overflow and an outcome, and not a strategy like this will be really great for Like it's not that. It's way more. God did this cool thing, and it's just the outcome, and it's worked and worked and worked, and you're being obedient. And if you're living the way you're living, you see things that other people don't see, and you get to you can pay attention to people the way you can't pay attention, and you listen in a way that other people just can't listen because there's so much personal noise going on about themselves, and it's been a crazy learning lesson for me, and something that has been really exciting to do. So I'm just kind of riding the wave, baby. It's a bucking bull, and I can't get off.
I love that. So many thoughts from this conversation. One of the things I hate and love about our conversations is we don't get to anything that we were going to talk about.
Yes.
But it's always a ride. I think one of the things I'm taking away is this is a very profound thought. It is asking today, not just, God, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to live? That's a kind of a game-changing, nuanced thought. Sounds simple, but not just what do you want me to do here. Where do you want me to move? Where do you want me to go? What's the decision? But how do you want me to live today? I think it's a great question, especially for any follower of Jesus listening. But we need to have you back on, especially to talk about all the things. I don't even remember what we were going to talk about.
50-year mortgages,
50-year
baby.
Mortgage, Dr. Iman, all kind of things. Yeah. So anyways, we'll have you back on. Thank you for coming on. And personally, thank you for, dream come true.
Oh, yeah.
The home.
Look on our Instagram. We'll post pictures of Russ's house. So it's great. Some before and afters.
Hit up Mr. Kevin Illich if you're in the market.
Thanks for having me.
It's been fun as always. Until next week, we will see you then. Hey guys, it's Russ. Thanks so much for listening. We really believe if we can get around tables instead of behind screens, if we can talk to each other instead of at each other, we can make the world better. To help us do that, here are a few things you can do to help. First, if you haven't yet, leave a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe on YouTube. This helps more than you know. Also, if you have been impacted by the community out of which this podcast comes, that's X Church. Maybe you're local or you've been touched by the messages and impact across the country, even the world. I want to encourage you to support this work. A powerful life principle is to invest in the people and places that invest in you. And so I want to invite you to do that right now by going to thex.church/give. You can give a one-time small gift, a sacrificial gift, or even become a recurring partner. Together, let's keep elevating the conversation, thinking higher, loving deeper, and making the world better. Cheers.